welcome live here to our second playoff race. Race number 2, live from Sonoma, California. I am Mike Maddox in the broadcast booth, and I'm going to set it upstairs where we can call the action. Will Tiller and Tyler Jones. Take it away, guys.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, Mike. We're excited and pumped up here tonight for Sonoma. This is, like Mike mentioned, playoff race number 2 here in the high Octane Sim Series. So Jeremy Richmond, a surprise winner last week, take home that victory there. I believe it was Darlington last week, if I'm not mistaken there. Picked on the race win up there. A big surprise there in that 8 machine. But it's a whole different beast here tonight, kind of, as we're taking on a road course here in the playoffs.
Road courses are always going to mix things up. You got to be able to get the car slowed down for corners, which some drivers may not be exactly used to, but so far in practice and qualifying, Brendan 6 has really been the driver to beat, being quite a marginable gap to the rest of the field. So going to be very interesting to see if he can maintain that dominance that we've so far seen in practice, and see if he can convert it into his 3rd win of the season.
Yeah, and although Brandon is the fastest on the track here so far with the top Q time and practice time so far, by, as kind of just mentioned, by a few seconds, he is currently down in the 4th position in the overall point standings. But kind of, I'll throw it on over to you for our starting grid here in tonight's playoff race number 2, live in the High Octane Sim Series.
Brendan 6 in the 66 Toyota has been able to snag pole, followed by starting on his outside, which is going to make him be the biggest shot at getting into the lead before turn 1. Julio Villalobos, Nick Alford, our All-Stars race winner. Brendan Fetterplace, who won at the Clash, has gone the entire season without getting a win besides that. Last week's winner, Jeremy Richmond, in the 98, starting in the 5th position. Eric, race control, I think there may be some sort of technical issue there, maybe, but starting in the 6th. Paul Bojanic in the 7th. EJ Marshall in the 8th. And starting on 9th position, Ian Janasek. But with that said, now we come around the kink, final turn before we start leashing all the engines back, and we're going to green flag racing here in the High Octane Sim Series. Ooh, Brandon's
yes, sir.
Getting very wiggly. Oh, got a spin.
Yes, sir. We have our spin already here on the track as we are on lap number 1 here live from Sonoma. Take a look here at this road course track. You're already starting to see the battles ensue here. Brendan 6, as we mentioned, had the fastest queue time here on the track. They try to pull away here on lap number 1. Gonna race it down here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll break this down for you in just a second of what tonight's layout's gonna be here. Tonight we're gonna run stage 1's gonna be 13 laps, stage 2 is gonna be 26, and we're gonna race it out to lap 58. But it looks like we already have a car off the track there, kind of.
So a bit of going on this opening lap whilst drivers try to figure out their position. Brendan 6 did not get off to a good start, but then Julio on the outside got off to a better start, but then just carried a bit too much speed going into the turn, which then meant that he ended up having a half spin. Luckily didn't go around fully and was able to recover. Ian Janasek then going into the hairpin, locked up, ran wide, and then got out onto the grass. So bit of trouble finding out how much grip you have through this opening lap, but once drivers start finding their rhythm, things should be very interesting. But Brendan 6 in the lead, not being able to pull away to as big of a gap as some may have expected, but Brendan Fetterplace also get a big lockup going into the final real turn, but hasn't cost him too much as we come around and go on to lap number 2.
Yeah, and you see Fetterplace right there, tried to ride that thing right into the corner, had to screech those brakes there, kind of, to make sure he got that corner clean. Right now we're seeing a battle also ensue on the track for a few more positions here. We watch this replay here live on 10-4 broadcasting. See down into the corner, another, ooh, we have contact there on that 90 degree. Man, that's a tough right there. That's one of the last corners on the track, and you know, kind of in this series, you're going to get, I believe, 2 fast repairs, so nothing too crazy yet there to repair that race car as those cars head down into corner number 1. Brendan 6 is still our race leader here on lap number 2. And folks, I'll take this opportunity here to go ahead and call up our race producer here, Mike Maddox. And Mike Maddox, you have experience in sports car series, the 24-hour series, Daytona series. So you're a road course guy. So you're a road course aficionado here at 10-4 Broadcasting. If you want to break down Sonoma for the folks at home, and what are these drivers in store for here tonight?
Well, if you guys recall so far going into turn one, this is a different road course than we would normally see. This is the classic version. As we see second place get a little squirrely, but we're going to go on board with your race leader. And we're going to show how to get around this track the fastest way. And I've raced with Brandon Six in other leagues, so I know his driving style. Gets a little tight on entry, but you're little fourth gear. Again, this is the classic version of Sonoma. This is not the one that you go further down. We're going to make the right-hander here. Going to stay close to the edge. Brandon is one of the road course ringers, so to say. In every race I've been with him, this little run's a little tricky. You get on too early, you go around and get on too late. You're asking for trouble, especially on those brakes. Make the hard right-hander around here. I'm not familiar with the turns, so I apologize for those. Got a fourth gear here through the S's. Normally you would stay in fourth gear. I myself shift down to third in these S's because I'm not a road course ringer, especially in a next-gen car. But in a sports car, you're totally different, taking these turns way different. But Brandon Six is one of the road course ringers, and you know I'm just going to say we're going to look at the lap times here in a moment. Pull it up on the screen. A 1:37.4, I believe, was his last lap. Brandon, again, I apologize if I get your last name. I think it's Fetter Place. Looks like he ran a 37.29. Right now, 36.6 by the 78 of Julio. Actually, let's go on board with him and see how aggressive he is in these corners.
Yeah, Mike, and as we're taking on board right here with these drivers, give the folks at home a first-hand point of view of the track here tonight, Sonoma Raceway. What's the lowest speed you think these drivers are going to hit, and how many times are you braking and shifting up and down throughout tonight's race?
You're shifting not, for me personally, it'll be like 9 to 10 times a lap. Honestly, only because I'm not comfortable in these next-gen cars, especially on this little S's here. You see again a little squirrely, but yeah, I'd be shifting about 9-10 times at least just to make sure I'm staying on the track. But we see Brand is getting a little too much speed. Do everything he can to get caught up to the field. I believe we have a crash on the track. Pull that up. EJ Marshall, it says that's crash. We're checking out live on 10-4 Broadcasting. Looks like we got a little front end damage there.
We saw EJ during practice while we were off the air, just really fighting the track here tonight. EJ, I can tell, is not a fan of road course racing. Sonoma is a difficult one there. Mike, you know, I've seen the Indy Road Course, I've seen Watkins Glen, but it just seems like there's something different about Sonoma. You're going uphill, you're going downhill, you got 90 degrees, you got S's, you got everything that these stock car drivers don't like here at the road courses. You have wide corners just like that one, you have tight corners. There's a lot of different things you have to think about throughout the race.
Definitely. We've seen Brandon, take that corner just a tad bit wide, just to try to get some more speed on exit to try to pull away, as we see a 20 car gaining ever so closely right now, 1.6 seconds back. But running a stock car at this track is definitely tricky. It does take you a lot out of you when if you think about it, normally you do ovals, okay? So it's like Daytona, Talladega. Oh, as we see car in the back, Nick Offord going drifting there in the final couple corners.
Yeah, and that's our points leader there, Nick Alford there in that 22 machine. Or excuse me, I believe he is racing tonight. I think I got that right there. The 95 there, keeping it like McQueen out there here tonight. But he's our points leader, Mike, and kind of, he won the All-Star race, his first victory here in the 3 seasons that High Octane Sim Series has been around. He is the admin, he is the boss here. He makes all this wonderful action happen on and off the racetrack. But being the points leader in your own series heading into a road course race, what do you think his mentality is going to be like here tonight?
Oh, let's just see EJ Marshall have another problem on that carousel, or actually the hairpin. My mistake. It's like he's not a fan of this racetrack. Some damage there in the back end. To answer the question as far as the mentality, you definitely need to have a different mindset running these races for sure. We could talk about, running Watkins Glen compared to this track. Totally different. You gotta take it each turn different. You gotta make sure you don't overdrive the corner. Make sure you're on the brakes, not too hard, as we've seen Nick drift this final corner just a tad bit. But you want to make sure you do not push the throttle and push yourself too much of a limit, because you can end your day in the garage.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that with the points lead here in the High Octane Sim Series, as next week these drivers have a whole nother challenge on their hands. As next week, folks, we head to Kentucky. It's a whole different change of racetrack. Our first race was at Talladega there, with Jeremy Richmond came away with the victory there. Tonight we're racing at Sonoma, our second round of the playoffs here in the High Octane Sim Series. As mentioned, we just go to Kentucky in week number 3. And then, guys, it gets really tricky there at the end. We go to the Dover for about 260 laps there. And then we end the season at Phoenix. So quite a playoff lineup we have for the folks at home here in the High Octane Sim Series.
And I just want to make a comment. Kentucky, I believe, when we first came on to broadcast this league, Kentucky was, I believe, the second race of our broadcast, and that turned into fuel strategy. I wonder if we're going to have another fuel strategy race like we did when we first came on. I mean, I know 2 different cars, a lot's changed since then, but I'm looking forward to see what happens.
Yeah, and speaking of seeing what happens and a huge difference on the track here, Brandon Six is skirting that car around the track here, and that might have led to his 2-second lead now. It might even be bigger on the track. We're looking at lap times there in the left-hand corner of your screen if you're watching live with us here on 10-4 Broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. He's running lap times that are about 2 seconds faster than the next guy there, Mike. So once you get those tires warmed up, you get those lines just right, we're now starting to see that speed that we saw in practice and in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it, a little bit before. Brandon Six, to me, he is one of the top aces on iRacing. Yeah, he's doing everything he can, to be in that Pro Series. And I have a feeling that he will get there. He has the capability. He has the mindset. Yes, he's in the same state, so I can't really say too much about that. But his mentality, his mindset, the way he handles the car, he learns the the building part of the car. You know, I race on Monday nights with him, and I get lapped maybe 20, 30 laps into the race. And I always lean on him for advice every race. You know, I always watch, what is he doing that I'm not doing? What mistake can I not make so that way I'm a little faster? And, you know, every time I watch him, it makes me drive a different style, drive a different way. So when we're looking at Brandon Six, you know, to me, he's a machine in the making so far on road courses.
Yeah, and we're watching that machine put in the work here tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, there are other cars on the track. We see some battles ensuing behind Brendan Six there. We see Fetter Place down there battling it out with Nick Alfred down there. We saw lap times that were pretty similar. Taking a look at that 20 machine, Fetter Place all by himself there in that Bang Energy race car. But right behind him, there's a battle for third ensuing here at Sonoma. That's Nick Alfred and Villalobos right there battling out for third. You see right there, Nick Alfred on the outside is going to try to hold that spot there. Villalobos is trying to get that podium finish right now. We're on lap 9, creeping up towards the end of stage number 1. They're racing it down here, racing downhill here at Sonoma. Nick Alfred's going to hold that line here outside of that corner as Mike broke it down. This is a tricky exit into the corner. You're going to dip right back down into another corner here. Nick Alfred's going to lead the way in that 95, trying to hold on to that third place position. This is a battle for third here, ladies and gentlemen. And Kynan, if you're Nick Alfred, as we just spoke about coming in as our points leader, how important it is to finish on the podium here tonight?
Well, with it being a bit of a smaller field, luckily the points deficit that you can lose is less, but every little point can matter, especially with going into the final couple rounds where not exactly the easiest track, so you can just get a couple points buffer on your closest rivals. They'll take it a long way, but right now he'll be watching in his mirror, seeing Julio getting very loose and thinking, okay, I just need to keep my car together for 3 more laps and then the stage caution will come out. I can come and get new tires and see what I can really do differently to maybe elevate myself up into second place.
Yeah, as Nick Alfred's going to head down into corner number 1. Here's going to hold that third place position. Is going to start to separate just a little bit from Villalobos there. Looks like Nick's a little bit stronger there on the last half of the course, and he crosses that start-finish line, has quite the gap. But then heading down into the first couple turns as we climb uphill here at Sonoma. That's where he tends to lose speed. He's off track there. Just hit those rumble strips, hit the dirt. They are now side by side down into a corner. Ooh, and Nick gets pushed into the dirt. He's going to lose that position here. Great job of Villalobos there holding his line. Nick really had nowhere to go without making contact with Villalobos there. Villalobos is going to peel off in the third position. That was just incredibly clean racing there. Nothing too dirty about that, guys.
Well, you can say that, but Nick will definitely be saying otherwise. You can see him run a little bit wide. Julio puts it up the inside, and you can see him already starting to lose the front end and get away from the apex.
Let's see if we take if our wonderful producer Mike Maddox can do a replay of that. You don't see any contact there, or maybe it's a little bit of a love tap there, but nothing too crazy. Just the slightest of contacts there as Villalobos went to the inside. Nick stayed high side there. But everything's clean here once again. And I love this point of view here of these race cars. This is called the chase view here as we take a look here once again at that move from Villalobos. There is a little bit of a slight contact there. But there was really nothing that Villalobos could do there in the corner. You can't dive that thing any more deeper in the inside, can you?
Well, what you can do is just get a bit... He already had overshot the corner, and you can see him trying to have slowed down, locking the brakes, which then pushed him out of the apex even further. So just carried a bit too much speed in for his liking, and unfortunately Nick Alfred trying to give him space, but you can only give the car on your inside as much space as we see Edward Marshall trying to get on the power a little bit too soon and just barely getting into the tire walls on the exit of turn 8. Don't even know the track. So second last turn.
Yeah, heavy damage on that 16 of EJ Marshall, representing the Esports Racing Association there on the side of that race car. Taking a look here once again at that 95 of Nick Alfred, our points leader in the playoffs so far here tonight. And it would be something if he gets his first win this season and his first championship in 3 years. And EJ Marshall, I believe we're getting calls from race control that he is out of power here in that 16. What a shame it is on that 16 have his night end like this here. Big things are coming though for the Esports Racing Association there. We're gonna, I believe they announced there, if you haven't followed them on Twitter or Facebook, that they're going to be doing an Xfinity Series, a Truck Series, and a Cup Series beginning in February. So we want you to go check them out at Esports Racing Association on Facebook. Get all the information you need about signing up for their new series coming up, whether you're an Xfinity driver, a truck driver, or a Cup driver, or if you want to run all three. We invite you to go check them out again at Esports Racing Association on Facebook and Twitter. It looks like that 16 is done here tonight, boys. Now we're on white flag here in stage number 1, lap 12 of 13. That'll be the end of stage 1 here at Sonoma. Still, Brandon 6 is our race leader here on the track. Federer Place is second. Villalobos is third. And we just saw that 95 of Nick Alfred down in the 4th position. Jeremy Richmond, our winner last week, is down in the 5th. That's our top 5 right now on the track. But it looks like Villalobos right now is starting to catch that draft coming off of Federer Place. He's trying to get that car up into 2nd place.
Does seem to have the pace advantage over Federer Place and really everyone besides Brendan 6, but he has been burning up his tires quite a lot. Luckily, he doesn't have much more that he needs to use these tires for, but when he gets up behind and into the hotter air of Federer Place, how much more is his car going to slide? We saw him behind Nick Alfred. He was really having a hard time keeping the rear end planted, and then when he had tried to go for the overtake, just came in a little bit too hot. So Julio seems to have the pace advantage right now, but he just needs to have a bit of patience as we see him lock up again. Going to lose a bit of time, but not as bad as it could have been. Needs to just step it back a little bit and try to keep his tires and mind back into a good working window, but Federer Place has to be a bit cautious with Julio behind.
And I believe that's going to be the end of stage 1 there. We ran our 13 laps to complete stage 1. Looks like if everything holds here, this is going to be the last lap of stage 1 once you cross the start-finish line here one more time. Brandon 6 will be our stage 1 winner. But as you just mentioned, Villalobos down there in 3rd trying to make a move on Federer Place. You know, I have to attest to that there, Villalobos' position. You know, you start getting a little bit angsty behind the wheel. Your heart starts to race a little bit more. Hands are getting a little bit more sweaty. You know you're the faster car than Federer Place in front of you. It's just like you said, Kynan, you have to keep your cool. You have to stay calm there. And then once you kind of like get that zen mode inside that race car, that's when you tend to just slide right past the car in front of you.
One thing to note, you can see his gear usages. It's quite an aggressive gear. Only just now getting up into 3rd, keeping it in 3rd for here, whilst when we were on board with Brendan 6 earlier on, we saw him running in the 4th gear, so a lot more aggressive, and that's going to make killing those rear tires a lot easier. But Edward Marshall trying to stay out of the way of Nick Alfred, and it seems everything's all good.
Caution's going to be out. Caution is out.
And right now, and the caution is out. That's going to bring an end to stage number 1 here, ladies and gentlemen. Brendan 6 is going to win stage 1 by about 11 seconds here. What an impressive performance that was there in stage number 1. We saw it coming, folks. We're not scientists up here. We're not magicians. We don't predict the future, but we saw it during qualifying. We saw it during practice. We had a feeling this was coming, Kynan, but we now have an opportunity to speak with the man himself, Brendan 6 there in that 66 machine, our regular season champion here in High Octane. And Brendan, we now have you up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. It looks to be your night, man. Mike called you the road course ringer. In qualifying, you had a very fast time. Practice session, you had about a 2-second lead as well. Take us through what makes you so good at a track like this.
Honestly, it's just these things are really critical under braking. Trying to get down into the corner and then just being real smooth. Trying to carry the speed through the corner, make sure you're not really dragging a ton of brake or a lot of throttle to make it step out on you.
Yeah, and Mike said that every time you hit a road course, whether it's in this league or others, you just seem to have that pace, you seem to have that ability here. Why is that? Do you have a lot of experience maybe in real life or on the simulator at road courses, and is this the style of racing that you prefer?
I actually don't prefer road racing, but I don't mind it either. I try and take some decent pride in it and try and actually develop myself to be better at it. I always think I can be improved on it even more. But I do enjoy running the road cars. Like I run a lot of GT3 cars, so that's probably where a lot of this translates over from.
Yeah, we can definitely see the experience here on the track. Speaking with Brandon 6, our stage number 1 winner. And Brandon, you come in as the regular season champion, but right now I believe you're down in the 3rd or 4th position in the overall point standings. I'm sure that's going to change here tonight. What do you look forward here the rest of the season? I believe we hit Kentucky, we hit Dover, and we hit Phoenix to end things out here. Do you think that not only can you be the regular season champion, but is there a chance we see that 66 as the overall champion?
I hope so, and I think I definitely got the pace to do it. Just got to keep the car clean.
There we go, Brendan. I'll ask you one more question here. We saw you win that first stage by about 11 seconds. You're fast in qualifying, fast in practice, so it looks like this is essentially going to be your race to lose. Don't mean to put the commentator's curse on you, but a question I wanted to ask you there, Brandon, how do you keep your focus and how do you stay motivated in that race car? Got about 58 laps here at Sonoma. What are the type of things that keeps you focused and keeps you in the race, even though you have about 11-second lead on second place?
In any series I run, it's you can't back down. Really, you got to keep digging at it and keep focused and keep doing what you're doing, and because you never know. I mean, something could happen. I might make a mistake or something if I start losing focus and give it to somebody else. So tracks like these, yeah, you just gotta keep it focused.
Alrighty, Brandon, speaking with Brandon 6, our stage number 1 winner. And Brandon, before we let you go with that stage victory, is there anybody that you wanted to shout out here tonight? Any sponsors that made that racing possible for you here tonight, where people can find you on social media?
Yeah, I gotta thank Mamacita Foundation. I've been running them here in pretty much every series I've been running, trying to help support them, bring awareness to them, and then just gotta thank my team keeping it real, and then you guys for putting on this broadcast.
Awesome, Brandon. Well, I'm sure we'll speak to you soon here. You'll probably get the stage 2 victory before going anything crazy here at Sonoma, and we'll probably speak to you in victory lane if this race continues the way it is. We appreciate you taking the time with us here, man. Good luck the rest of the way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That was Brandon 6, our stage number 1 winner here at Sonoma. This is playoff race number 2 here in the High Octane Sim Series. But I believe we'll step aside for just a brief moment. We'll be right back with live action at a High Octane Sim Series playoff race number 2 at Sonoma. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on 10-4 Broadcasting. We just heard from our wonderful sponsor here at the High Octane Sim Series, Admin Box. If you haven't checked out Admin Box, that's 2 X's at the end, over at adminbox.com. We invite you to go do so. They build fully customized race control and admin devices. You can leave that thing in race control mode pit mode or driving mode, and you can call everything from that control box right there. It's a USB plug and play, no crazy instructions, no crazy downloads, no crazy installations there on your PCs. For all you race control and admins out there, you can race in these races. You don't have to sit on pit road and do all of your stuff, your black flags, your caution flags, adding laps, decreasing laps. You can do it all from your admin box there. We invite you to check them out at admin box, that's 2 X's at the end.com, or go run over to Discord and check them out as well. But here we go, we're about to start things off here. Once again, this will be stage number 2 here in playoff race number 2. We saw Brendan 6 win by about 11 seconds, but there were battles behind him there towards the end of that stage.
Julio, having made the mistake on the opening lap going into turn 1, is going to have to not do the same thing again, learn from that. If he's got that, I'd say he should be able to get himself into the second position before the end of this stage, and maybe even by the end of the lap, but he has to just keep it easy and keep it on track. Next stage caution will be on lap 26, so bit of a long run, but it's going to be the exact same distance as the previous time. So if you found that you're overheating your tires a little bit too much, you want to just back it down a little bit. If you found yourself struggling to get through traffic, maybe see where you can start looking to maybe change up your line to find a bit of clean air and maybe be able to just send it up the inside, but just keep it on track, and who knows what will happen. And Brendan 6 in the lead has to just get a better start than what he did on the opening one. He bogged down and then got wheel spin, which made it so Julio was able to then start looking to the inside. But with that, it's going to be very interesting to see if Julio can be able to get up into the second position before turn 1. Brendan 6 off to a very strong start. Brendan Fetterplace stuck on the outside. Julio is able to go up the inside, keeping it all nice and steady. Fetterplace running a little bit wide, but going to have the inside coming into turn 2, keeping it up the inside, and is going to be able to pull out in front and going to clear Julio going into turn 3.
Yeah, as you already see, Brendan 6 there, peel off there on the top of the grid. Fetterplace right now is actually trying to stick with him here, right on that back bumper. You see Villalobos back there as well in the 3rd spot. Nick Alfred right there in the 4th, just briefly there on your screen. Fetterplace, though, is trying to contain with him there. We saw this there at the start of the race. Fetterplace just saw the 66 right there. You get excited. You think that you can climb up there to the lead. But then Brendan there on that long run just started to hit those lines consistently. And that's all about what it takes at a road course. We just spoke with Brendan 6 just a little while ago. I asked him if this was his preferred style of racing. He said he doesn't prefer it, but he's pretty good at it. So we're seeing that here tonight as Fetterplace is trying to stick with Brandon. I wanted to ask you, as you see Fetterplace get up on those rumble strips there, got that thing lifted up there, hit the switches there, if you will, here in California. See that thing bouncing up and down on the rumble strips. And I was going to ask you here, we're used to hitting speedways, super speedways. Is this a course that you can still use that draft to your advantage? As you're seeing Brendan Fetterplace stick with Brendan 6, not letting him peel off too far, but if you can get close enough, can you use that draft to your advantage here at a road course?
The draft can be able to help benefit you a little bit, but compared to other cars, I know in Mazda's Indy Pro 2000, the draft can be very beneficial, as Nick Alfred just gets on the gas a bit too much and just loops it on his own, but able to keep it off track and is going to lose out a couple of positions, but luckily not going to pick up any damage. He's going to have to be careful not to keep some of that damage. We're still looking at a replay here on the 25 of Ian Janicek. Just taking it easy, trying to find grip and getting on the gas a little bit too soon and just loops around on his own.
Yeah, and that's how difficult iRacing can be sometimes. This is not as simple as just turning on the simulator and racing around the track. This is about the closest thing to the real thing in stock car racing that you can get without climbing inside of a race car. From the sensitivity to the actual track, to the aprons, to everything that goes into a real life race, this iRacing has done a great job of capturing all of that. As we're taking an onboard ride with Brendan Fetterplace here, he is up in the 2nd spot right there. And I just mentioned when you saw the start of that stage, Brendan could see 6 in front of him. He could see that pace that 6 was running. He thought he had a chance, but now you're starting to see that 6 car is turning into a lake in the desert, a mirage, if you will, as you're starting to see him peel off there from the lead.
He had a bit of a lockup going into the second last corner, which would have cost him some time, but he seems to have been able to bleed off the speed still and hasn't lost too much, so he's slowly starting to pull away compared to the first stage where he was taking a lot more easy, found a nice rhythm, and then started to pull away. Has found his rhythm a lot quicker, and you can see the result of once Brendan 6 has been able to find how much grip he has in the car.
And you see Feder Place is really trying to push that thing around now as he is off the track there in that 20. Be careful to take a little bit of damage there, hitting those tires. He's going to drop down the grid there as Villalobos is not going to overtake for that second spot here on lap number 19. And Julio Villalobos, we saw that speed there at the end of stage number 1 there in that 78. Climbed up past Nick Alfred there, was trying to catch Feder Place there towards the end of the stage. Didn't have quite enough speed to do so, but now has climbed his way up into the second spot there in that 78. And who knows, if that 78 can keep it clean, start hitting these lines, it looks like he might have something for Brendan 6.
Well, we're only going to have to see that towards the end of the stage and towards the end of the race, but I'd be interested in seeing a replay for all the 20, see if maybe he just got over the curb or if the car just got loose going over the rise. But unfortunately wasn't it. Oh, right as I said that, here we have a replay of Brendan Feder Place. You can see him hit the curb and it's just started to bounce the car, and once you start to get the wheels lifting, it's then limiting how much contact patch you have to the ground, and just manages to lose grip and try to keep it out of the wall, but go and bounce off that inside tire wall ever so slightly. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe he has steering damage and might need to take the fast repair.
Yeah, Brendan Feder Place right there has been second majority of tonight's proceedings. With that slightest mistake, you saw him right there, kind of started to drift walk a little bit there, coming downhill, made contact there with those safe tires, got that thing back on the racetrack without too much damage. Unfortunately, he's going to lose a position on the racetrack. It's going to drop down into third. It looks like it's a lonely third there as nobody's around him there on that podium finish. Brendan Feder Place right there. Taking a look again at that 78 of Julio Villalobos there. Villalobos is trying to keep pace with Brendan 6 right now as we have about 6 laps to go here in stage number 2. Again, this is playoff race number 2 in the High Octane Sim Series here live on 10-4 Broadcasting. And kind of, we spoke about it last week. You've been here for the duration of the season. What kind of season has it been for these drivers, and for these drivers that have qualified for the playoffs? You've had quite a long season leading up to this. What is the mindset like here in these last 5 or so races? And talk a little bit about the seasons leading up to now.
How the season's been, it's been quite an interesting series of events. Had some dirty races where some have not been able to benefit on points. Had some really good races, and with it coming into the playoffs now, if you are going to have a bad race, now's the time you don't want to have to do it. Now, every little point you can get is going to be very beneficial, which is a bit of a shame on why we don't have more cars here tonight. But for those that have decided to brave it out and come here, are going to be able to feel it out a lot more and be able to take it towards some people that maybe didn't, and be able to pick up some points, start setting themselves up for the real challenging rounds. Because with Kentucky coming up, some drivers may never have driven it with the schedule being how it is in real life. We don't race at Kentucky in real life right now. We might in the future, but it means that some drivers may not even have the track. I only recently got it for a league, and then we go to Dover and then Phoenix. So very interesting series of tracks coming up, but especially with Dover, Julio getting a little bit sideways again, but with how the schedule will then unplay and how difficult it can be to get around Dover, and with drivers starting to try to get as much points as they can, you can't really count out anyone to get a win.
Yeah, speaking of getting a win with 5 laps to go here in stage number 2, Brendan 6 doesn't have the significant lead as he had there in stage number 1. Right now, it's only about a 6-second lead there, Conan, compared to 11 seconds at the end of stage number 1. But Julio Villalobos, we're taking a look at him right there in that 78 machine, trying to whip it around the corners here, and you're starting to see a little bit of a overdrive out of some of these drivers here tonight. You're trying to get as much speed. You're trying to make lemonade out of lemons here. You're trying to squeeze the car as much as you can around these corners. And, we saw it out of Nick Alfred there. You saw it out of Brendan Fetter Place. If you overdrive into these corners and you make the slightest mistake, you're going to go for a little merry-go-round ride there for a bit there, kind of.
Yeah, but that's only half the issue, because then you have to get out of the corner. So one nice little thing that you can do, and have seen Brendan Six doing, is just short shifting, getting it up into a high gear to then hopefully be able to get the power down a lot easier and just keep care of those rear tires, even though they're a lot more durable in these. Oh, I say that as he gets fairly sideways on corner exit, but you can see him dropping it down into second gear, keeping it there. Then you've got to be patient coming through this complex of corners, not really getting a chance to open the steering until we come through the S's. You can see him getting up to about 9,300, keeping it in third. Gonna be the quickest line, but it is also going to be the sketchiest gear. You can see him put it back up into fourth, then keeping it through here, lifting and doing a bit of trail braking just to help get the front end to be planted before getting back out on exit over the rumble strip slightly, dropping it back down into second, then to first for the slowest part of the whole track. Then you have to get it back. You can see a little bit of a short shift there, not getting up to the red on the RPM, and then that's allowed him to get a better drive out, and suddenly we're doing it all over again.
Yeah, and kind of the one thing that I was most fascinated with there is you took a onboard ride there with Brendan Six there in that 66, leading the way here once again at Sonoma. Are those top end speeds there, kind of? He's pushing that thing to about 145. I saw him up to about 150 there for just the slightest. And then you have to dip down into the corner. You have to downshift. Some instances you have to hit the brakes there. Some of these drivers aren't used to hitting the brakes here in these stock cars. But that's the one thing that really fascinated me the most there, kind of. You get to such a high speed, and then you have to drop that thing way down and then get right back on the gas again. So that's a tricky aspect to me.
Yeah, iRacing compared to other sims, you can't exactly just plan on the brakes, especially when you have a car with ABS. Unfortunately, you don't have ABS in these next-gen cars, but it's very easy to pinch the brake and suddenly you're sliding off track just because of you locking that wheel, and then suddenly it's not rotating anymore, and then it's just sliding across the surface. So you want to get the most out of the braking whilst also not overstepping the mark, which can be very difficult to do. And then if you try to get through the gears to try use engine braking, then you have the risk of getting it down too quickly, locking the rear axle, and then suddenly you're going around. So lots of different little techniques that you have to deploy, and Brendan Six going for the second last corner, you can see him not really miss the apex and just be able to hug it tightly. Then getting up into fourth gear, you find him keeping it in fourth through the whole front straightaway, not really getting up into fifth, which is going to be good for speed, but fuel saving isn't going to be as much of a factor. So I'm sure going into the final little stage and final push, you'll see him up in fifth gear trying to save every bit of fuel, but running third gear right now, just trying to keep the wheels connected and just stay on track.
Yeah, with about 2 laps to go here in stage number 2, he seems to be our stage number 2 winner. And folks, taking a look at Brendan Six, he won stage number 1 here on lap 24. We're live from Sonoma Raceway here, and kind of that was one of the questions I asked him when we got a chance to interview him after that stage 1 victory, is how he stays motivated, how he stays focused inside that race car. And basically his response was that he never really loses focus, never really loses concentration, even with a 10-second lead now that he's built up here in stage number 2. And you can see that, kind of. You can see the way that he's consistently hitting these corners, hitting these lines, not really making any mistakes. He's keeping the speed up. He's not really drifting that much here. He's still just lap after lap. He's trying to best each time. He's trying to best his way around this track here tonight. And really kind of go a little wide there on that corner. But kind of in a race like this, are you really just racing yourself? Are you just trying to best your lap times with a lead this high?
No, even though you're very tempted to start doing hot laps, sometimes, especially in Xfinity, which is surprisingly the most car I've driven on road courses from the oval variants, you really just start getting tire fall off. Although with these next gens being a completely different tire profiling, you're able to be more aggressive with the tires, and they also keep a hold together for much longer. So tire wear isn't as big of an issue, but when you have this sort of advantage, the last thing you want to do is just overdrive the corner and then suddenly lock the rear brake or front brake, trying to get it slowed down, start sliding off track. Maybe worst case scenario, you get up into the wall, break one of your suspension components, and then suddenly you have to do an extra minute and a half of driving just to get back to the pits. And you don't want to be making a pit stop this early on. Maybe if you can time it right in the final stage, you can use it and not lose as much time, but now you don't want to be getting into the pit lane, especially towards this part of the lap. You will lose the lead, and unfortunately, if you do, it's not going to be the easiest to get back through, but with the field being this small and bit of a pace difference between Brendan 6 and really everyone else, even if he started from the back, I'd say he should be able to claw his way back through, but who needs that when you can just have a nice, relaxing Sunday drive around this Sonoma Raceway track?
Yeah, it looks like Brendan 6 in that 66 is going to win stage number 2 here. Julio Villalobos, I'm pretty impressed with his racing ability here tonight. He has a Fetter Place up there in the 3rd. Jeremy Richmond's in 4th. Nick Alford has dropped down into the 5th position. We saw what happened to him there, but I believe as Brendan 6 is going to strategize for the end of the race there, we're going to bring up our 2nd place finisher, Julio Villalobos, and I believe you're catching up with him on the radio.
Hey Julio, Cannon Jones up in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Can you repeat, please?
Hey, Cannon Jones up in the booth. Do you have a copy?
I don't hear you because of the engine.
Okay, well, might need to try get back to you a little bit later on. Seems to be a bit of technical issues.
Yeah. Yeah, Julio, so you have that engine up there revving. If you can hear me there, you finished 2nd there in that stage. Obviously, Brendan 6 looks like the guy to beat here tonight. What is it about Sonoma that makes it so difficult around this course?
Well, this track is very difficult, so you have to moderate the brake and the fuel to don't get out of the track.
Right, Julio, and as we watch you under caution here at the end of stage number 2, I wanted to ask you, man, we're heading towards the end of the season here at High Octane. How do you feel about your season up to this point, and what do you think about these last couple races? We head to Dover, we head to Phoenix, and then next week, I believe, is Kentucky.
Well, I think that we have chance to win the champion, so I'm so good in Dover, so we hope we win in there.
Yes, sir, Julio. Well, we'll let you get back to it, man. I'm sure we'll speak to you soon if you hold on to that podium finish here. We appreciate you taking the time with us here. I know it's a little hard to hear over that engine there in that Chevy. But Julio, before we let you go, anybody you want to shout out there?
Nothing, thank you.
Gotcha, man. Have a great rest of your race, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, that was Julio Villalobos there in that 78 machine, Kynan, and I gotta say, I'm pretty excited about his finish here tonight as well. Obviously, it's gonna be Brendan 6 that comes home with the race win. But one driver that I want to catch up with as well there, Kynan, I believe he's not having the race that he wanted to have here tonight, and that's EJ Marshall there in that 16. And EJ, you're up in the 10-4 broadcasting booth with us here, up here in that 16 machine. Man, you're just battling around here at Sonoma. What do you think it is that makes this track so difficult?
The track itself is fun. It's just these cars on this track is very difficult for me. There's a lot of people that are really good at it, and some people that suck at it, and I'm one of those people that just suck at it. But the negative, like banking turns, definitely doesn't help. The S's, the track gets really tight and narrow, and that doesn't help. It's just a handful. It really is, but it's super fun.
Yeah, we're talking about Brendan 6 there. Brendan won the first couple of stages by about 11 or 12 seconds. But EJ, I wanted to bring you up in the booth here. You're rocking that Esports Racing Association paint scheme on those race cars here. If you want to tell the folks at home a little bit about that news coming up here, I saw it posted on Facebook. if you kind of want to break down your upcoming news there for that league and how people can get signed up.
Well, we have an awesome race coming up this Sunday at 5:30. It's a free race. The only thing you got to do is head over to ERA or Esports Racing Association on Facebook. Check them out. Sign up for the league, and if I'm mistaken, they're going to pay a little bit of money to win it. So if you're watching and you ain't already signed up, go ahead and sign up, and maybe you get lucky and win and put some money in your bank account.
There we go, EJ, and I know you and TJ have quite a schedule here the rest of the week, but doesn't look to be your night here tonight. You're still sticking it out with us here at 10-4 Broadcasting, really just whipping that thing around the track here at Sonoma. But EJ, we appreciate you taking the time with us here, man, and good luck the rest of the way. And if you bow out here tonight, then we'll see you at Kentucky next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Kentucky, and I'm super looking forward to Dover the week after. Dover's my track, so we'll see if we can't put something together in the next 2 weeks and make a run at the championship.
Awesome, EJ. Well, you have a great rest of your night, man. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. You too.
That was EJ Marshall there. We caught up with him. We also caught up with Julio Villalobos there. Now bring up Mike Maddox back up here into the booth. You know, we're seeing EJ Marshall, we're seeing Julio Villalobos there. One driver that we haven't really spoke about here tonight was last week's winner, Jeremy Richmond there. Won at the first race of these playoffs here. Kind of just bobbing inside and out of the top 5 here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. That 98, he's been a force to reckon with, you know, every week so far since I've actually come on to the broadcast. But I think, I don't know, it's Brandon 6 is a different, I'm going to say different animal when it comes to these road courses. I mean, we talked about, you know, every little bit, one mistake, and can definitely take him out of the race. But you know, Jeremy is always there at the end. We see him leading right now. I think he's going to come down pit road. Yep, give up the lead. Come down pit road to the 4 fresh tires. I don't know. I think Jeremy has a real shot to win this race if something were to happen to Brandon 6. I mean, yeah, we've seen the 78 up there in the 20, but you know, the beating and banging the 78 and the 20 did there that last restart. I mean, we can see something happen between them, and the 98 capitalize on the mistake. At road courses, one mistake can ruin everybody's race.
Yeah, as we're still under caution here, that was the end of stage number 2. Watching pit stops ensue here for the first time. And Mike, you know, you're a road course racer yourself. What's the main focus here, road course racing? I know stock car is a little bit of a different beast, but what are some of the things that you're going to focus on here we're looking at around 38 laps to go. Or 28, I'm sorry, excuse me.
No, you're fine. The one thing you're going to look for is how much rubber has the track gotten since the start of the race. Because if you figure this on an oval, when
not even close to being right, lights are back on.
The lights are
about
they were going to go green.
There, they aren't even close to being lined up right.
On, so
they're actually 3 wide, one row there.
As what race control has told us. But to answer your question, you know, the mentality is on an oval, you're going to see that black stripe or that black line around the track where the track is rubbered up. At road courses, the longer it gets, you know, you're going to see, like right here, you're going to see the grip. And it's going to be, you know, how much grip has taken since the last pit stop. You know, will your tires grip even more? Will you have about, you know, more throttle control in this, final 28 laps or so?
And that's all it's going to be about. It's all it's going to be about catching Brendan 6 there in that 66. One of the first 2 stages here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. By a combined those first 2 stages, I would say about 20 seconds. One stage number 1 by 11 seconds. One stage number 2 by about 10 seconds. So, Mike, I wanted to ask you too before we let you get back to the decks there. What's going to be the most important thing here on this restart? We saw these last couple restarts at the beginning of the race and the restart there at the end of the stage. Federer Place really sticks with Brandon 6 there, but the minute that he starts to let Brandon kind of hit those lines once again, that's where it kind of gets out of hand. Is there anything that Federer Place can do here on this restart that can keep Brandon 6 more in his reach?
I think the one thing is not overdrive each corner. Don't worry about Brandon's race. Worry about your race. If you start worrying about the driver in front of you, you're going to mess up. You're going to overdrive. I mean, we see the 25 has moved into second place. I believe, yep. 25 is now second place. But the one thing is, do not overdrive. Do not run Brandon's race. If I was a 20, run the 20's race. Because if I still are hitting my marks, no matter what Brandon does, hit my marks. Make sure I stay where I feel comfortable in running. And if I feel comfortable in running this hard, then I'll catch Brandon. Because one mistake, we see Brandon, almost go off in the final corner before the hairpin. Any little mistake Brandon does, you got to be there to capitalize.
You really do, and Brandon seamlessly has run a mistake-free race here tonight. But as mentioned, on those restarts, it really takes him I'd say about a lap or two to start to hit those lines consistently. And if these drivers can kind of follow Brandon around the track, but I like what you said there, Mike. You really can't be concerned with Brandon's race up there. Obviously, he's the fastest car on the track. That's pretty evident there. But we also have battles for a podium finish here. And as we count down this season, we're going to only have about 3 races to go here in the High Octane Sim Series to close things out here. You can lock in a podium finish here tonight. Maybe you win next week at Kentucky. Those last 2 races, you can really put yourself in a spot to take home the championship.
Most definitely. I mean, Kynan even made the point, we have a small field here. So if you can come out with a top 3 finish, it's going to be a changing factor if you win the points, because if you figure a couple more people are not here tonight, you're definitely passing them in points. As we see the pace truck going down pit road, and the green is now in Brandon 6's hands.
Oh, and that was already a bad restart out of that 25 behind him. But there is Villalobos right behind him. As you now start to see them come around that last corner here. You'll see if they can keep Brandon 6 in check here as that green flag waves here. Once again, this is the last bit of racing we'll have here at Sonoma as Brandon 6 gets a rocket restart there, guys. Just sends him up the hill there. Villalobos not going to overtake for second. Jumped up from about 4th up to 2nd. And just those first couple of corners, going to try to keep with Brandon 6 there. Watch that 66 as he takes these corners climbing uphill right now up the hill at Sonoma. And Villalobos there in that 78 just went up on the rumble strips. But we now have our first on-track caution of the night there, guys. And Kynan, it took us a long time to get to our first on-track caution here on lap 31. I assume we'd probably see it a little bit sooner, but once we get that 10-4 broadcasting replay revved up for you folks at home, if you're watching along with us here on 10-4 broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, we'll see exactly what brought out our first on-track caution. And Kynan, I wanted to ask you here, you're used to it. Here we go. We'll break down this replay in just a second. No, doesn't look like. We'll have to. Actually, Kynan, I believe you're catching up with Race Control. I will get Race Control on the radio, give you a chance to ask him what brought out the caution there.
Hey, Eric, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
So, we see a caution out on track, but we don't really see a real cause for the caution. Did you just see something you didn't like on that restart?
No, it was my mistake. The leader, for some reason, received a black flag in error by iRacing, and instead of hitting the control for the black clear, I hit the yellow, and we're going to go back to 1 to green here as soon as these guys get back around the track and catch the pace car.
Well, these things...
Go ahead.
So these things happen, can't really do much. Some people would say that real life NASCAR should have thrown out cautions when they did, but luckily it hasn't really ruined anyone's race, and if anything, can just help out with fuel strategy. But what sort of mindset do you really have to take when race controlling and keeping everything on track in these sorts of races?
Well, there's so much that goes on. You got to kind of keep an eye on all these guys, and they get so spread out. And if caution happens, like where a couple cars get together, and I actually have to throw the yellow, I got to be able to catch it. So being on a track like Sonoma, that's a course track, and there's a lot of room between vehicles. It's hard to keep track of everything that's going on, but I'm doing the best I can, and hopefully I can keep these guys under green and have a good show.
I mean, you've managed to do a good job, and compared to real life, which has had some very interesting calls, I'd say that what you've done has been able to do really good and just keep things all nice and predictable and steady. But I believe Will has a question for you.
Yeah, Eric, I wanted to ask you, as we're counting down the races here in the High Octane Sim Series, I asked kind of this same question. What do you think of the season so far here, and how excited are you to not only wrap up this season, but for Season 4 as well?
Well, I'm hoping that this season wraps up pretty good. These guys always put on a good show. I do enjoy coming over here and working with these guys. I haven't been talked to about Season 4 yet. I hope they do bring me back. I am having fun watching these guys and watching them and admitting for them. I'm actually learning from them as well. And it's actually helped me in races that I've run myself. So,
well, there we go, Eric. Well, we'll let you get back to it here. We'll let you get back up into the booth to call out this green flag, as Brandon Six has basically dominated here at Sonoma. Brandon Six came in as our regular season champion there, Eric. It looks like he's going to try to race for that overall championship the way he is racing here tonight. We got one to go here under yellow. Before we let you go there, Eric, if Brandon holds on here, we'll have two different winners in the first 5 races of the playoffs. But a whole different track next week in Kentucky. How do you see this championship playing out? And coming into tonight, Nick Alford was our points leader. So it's really anybody's ball game there towards the end of the season.
Definitely, with the caliber of drivers in this field, I mean, even with it being a small field tonight, they still got some really talented drivers out there, and it really is anybody's season. Six is definitely looking strong right now, and he's definitely a strong contender for the championship.
Awesome, Eric. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us here, as we had that, we'll call it a ghost caution, if you will. It shouldn't have come out there. That's what the admin box is for there. Using that admin box here tonight is able to fix that mistake quick, fast, and in a hurry. But Eric, we'll let you get back to it, man. We appreciate you taking the time with us here.
No problem. Thank you.
And that was Eric Tupper, our race control here at High Octane Sim Series. And kind of this green flag is about to come out one more time, as we saw Brendan Six there have a big run to start off that restart with Fetter Place and Villalobos there kind of battling it out. But one thing that I noticed there on that restart, kind of as we're coming around these last couple corners before we go back green, Villalobos got a little bit of a 2-for-1 action there, jumped up from 4th up to 2nd. Do you see him trying to maintain that 66 here on this restart? And maybe, even though Mike Maddox there spoke about how you can't really be concerned with Brandon's race, if you could do a little something here to keep Brandon Six in check, Villalobos looks like he might have the speed to contend.
It's entirely possible that Julio, if he can keep it together, and maybe Brendan has a bit of issues on his own, Julio might be able to take it to him. We saw him be able to sneak his way up the outside on the opening lap before being a little bit too ambitious and end up going off and lost those positions, but he does seem to be the closest real contender to be able to take it to Brendan Six, but Brendan Six is going to be fully aware of it. You can see him running a little bit of a wider line, trying to just keep Julio in check, Julio to then speed up to then maybe do a little bit of mind games right now, but as we come around, this should be the final time that we will be saying, let's go back to green flag racing here in the High Octane Sim Series at Sonoma Raceway tonight.
Yeah, as they now climb the hill at Sonoma. Brandon Six with another great restart there, but we already have a battle for 2nd taking place right behind him, as we have Brendan Fetter Place now off the track there, skirts off those rumble strips as we climb the hill Villalobos there in the second position there in that 78. Nick Alford's down into third. Brandon Fetterplace now maintain that speed after going off tracks, now trying to climb back up into the third position. Nick Alford's doing a great job of holding him off there in that 95 machine, as Brandon 6 is still our race leader now as we're coming downhill here at Sonoma. It's going to keep those corners nice and clean. Villalobos right there in that 78, still trying to maintain speed. As you come around one of the trickiest corners here at Sonoma, has to dive right back into the snake corners here. Right now, we have a battle on our hands for a podium finish right now. As Brendan Fetterplace going to go to the inside of Nick Alford's going to overtake Nick. Nick's going to try to the inside here on the next corner. Right there, 95 is side by side with Brendan Fetterplace. They're side by side racing here at Sonoma, as the 95 is going to file right back into behind Brendan Fetterplace there, as now Fetterplace is going to peel off that 95 and put some distance between the two.
Nick Alford tried to do the switch back on Fetterplace. Fetterplace driving it in real deep, which pushed him out a little bit wider than Nick Alford tried. Carrying a little bit less speed and cut back underneath. It very nearly worked, and Fetterplace got a little bit sideways. It seems like Fetterplace may have had a bit of a lockup, but after Fetterplace was able to get good enough of a drive off, Nick Alford has unfortunately had to fall back down into the fourth position, but even if he finishes in fourth, still a good points playing night. Even if it's not a winner, even a podium, it's still going to be a decent night here for points.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Nick needs here. A podium finish. Coming into tonight's race, he is our points leader. So with the podium finish, we have another car off track here. Taking a look there, I believe that is Julio Villalobos there that went off of track there, Kynan. That's a far stretch of the race that he's ran so far there in that 78. He's now dropped down into the 6th position with that. We'll take a look here at the 10-4 broadcasting replay to see what happened. Oh, man.
He looked to be just offline going up the hill, and once that happens, you don't really have a lot of turning, and then you lock up trying to just arrest the speed, but then once you lock up, it basically makes your grave and just slide.
We'll take an onboard ride here. And we spoke with Julio just a little while ago, and I asked him about what makes this track so difficult. Oh, and now Brendan Fetterplace makes contact with the wall there. May have looked like something wrong with the steering there, kind of.
It looked like it may have potentially just been a rear lock, maybe got down into the wrong gear and it's just snapped it into the wall. We would probably need to get it on board just to see the wheel movement for that.
And right now, Brendan Fetterplace is trying to climb his way back up there. We just saw our top two contenders have problems here as we're counting down the laps here at Sonoma.
And yep, just grabs the rear brake and too much, and it just sent him into the wall.
Just slaps that wall there, kind of. We took an onboard ride with Brendan Fetterplace here, watching this replay here live on 10-4 broadcasting. And that was our top two guys right up there, with the exception of Brandon 6, who's our lone leader on the track. We saw, as now Nick Alford's having problems there in the 95. He is off track once again. It's going to try to take a shortcut here at Sonoma, as Brendan Fetterplace is going to come right behind him, try to make a move. I believe this is a race for second place. Or this, watching the replay here, as the 95 is now fighting that thing around off track there, as Villalobos is going to overtake, and Fetterplace and Villalobos are going to regain where they left off.
Really, the only one in the top 5 to not have issues is Brendan 6 and Jeremy Richmond. So very interesting to see the top, second to fourth all have issues at basically the exact same time. So maybe just trying to ask a bit too much of their cars, or maybe some sort of temperature thing going on. But whatever the issue is, Brendan 6 doesn't seem to be having that issue, as he keeps commanding up into an 11-second lead with 23 to go in this race.
And if Brandon's listening along with us here on 10-4 broadcasting, he loves to hear that in his headset, that the guys behind him are having even more problems. They weren't having problems before there, folks. Brendan Fetterplace is running a really clean race. Julio Villalobos as well. Nick Alford was running a clean race before. Just at the end of stage number 2, we saw him go off track. But with the exception of that kind, and the guys behind this leader here, Brandon 6, they haven't raced crazy races. I mean, we've seen a little bit of checkup in the corner, a little bit of a tire squeak there, a little bit of a smoke at the back of those Goodyear Eagles, but nothing too crazy until just recently. my question to you, Kynan, or Mike, for this matter, you see Brandon hitting these lines clean with the speed here around the track. But if you're a driver behind him and you're also racing a clean race, you haven't really had that many mistakes. As you see, a huge mistake out of Brandon there is going to tail whip that thing down in the corner. Not going to really make much of a difference as he has now a 12-second lead. But my question to you guys up here in the booth, you see Brandon racing around the track, clean lines, whatever. But these guys behind him that have also raced clean lines, what's the difference then that makes this, Brendan Six's lead so large, I would sort of say there, for lack of a better term. If you're racing a clean race as well, what's the difference then on the track?
So we talked about it before. I think these drivers, they're worried about the guy in front, and they're not worried about their own race. They're trying to push more than they feel comfortable in doing, and we're seeing mistakes. It was one mistake after another. We look at a replay, and then there's another mistake just happened to be the next lap. Again, same thing. We look at another replay, another incident. I think it's the rhythm. We had a caution, stage break. Okay, fine. Then we went back green, stage break, good and dandy. And then we had a caution after the stage break. That was a mistake by race control, which they already came and we talked to them about it. But I think the rhythm just happened to get off with that.
Yeah, and you want to hold your rhythm here. We've seen that out of Brendan Six there in that 66. And Mike, as we spoke about here throughout the broadcast, you have road course experience. We see it on speedway races. We see it on motor speedway races, super speedway races also, to throw that into the mix. You see mistakes made on a racetrack like that. What makes mistakes here at a road course so significant? And, the little tiniest mistakes, we saw it throughout tonight's race. How big of a difference does that make here towards the end?
Oh, towards the end, it's definitely crucial. Because you don't want to make the mistakes late in the run. If you make the mistakes, make it early. So that way you can learn and counteract, or I should say, not counteract. The one word is counter the way you drive. Because if you change the way you drive early, it would help you later on. If you try to be all tough late in the run, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, and we're seeing it here tonight. As now the bots have entered the chat here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We'll get that quickly fixed for everybody at home. We want to appreciate everybody for tuning in here tonight at 10-4 Broadcasting. Watching along with us here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We'll be live once again next week here at the High Octane Sim Series, bringing you live action out of Kentucky. That would be round number 3 of the playoffs here. But if you want a little bit of a racing in the meantime, you can catch us on Tuesday nights in the Virtual Racing Association. Kynan Jones, our co-host of the night, finished really good in that series last year. He sometimes makes a little bit of an appearance in that series. But also you can catch us on Thursday nights as well, bringing you live action out of the Over the Top Designs Xfinity Nazareth series there. And that's been a competitive series so far, with Justin Michael winning 4 races in a row. Picked up a win last night in impressive fashion, almost as impressive as Brandon Six here run here tonight. But we invite you to go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and comment button. But right now in tonight's race, Brandon Six has about a 15-second lead on the rest of the pack. It looks to be his night to celebrate here on the west side in California, as Brandon Federer Place and Julio Villalobos now 2-3 right there respectively on the track. Nick Alford, our points leader, is down into 4th. A little bit of separation here on the track, but we're going to step aside for just a short break here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We'll be right back with live action from Sonoma. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're back live here from Sonoma. We just took a short break there to hear from our wonderful sponsors here at the High Octane Sim Series, one of which is Admin Box. Admin Box builds fully customized race control and admin devices. They can build them for whatever button mapping you need. They're LED lit as well. I know some of us have wives, we have kids, so we have to kind of hide our hobbies in the dark corners. No worries there, as Admin Box can build you a box with fully lit with LED backlighting to it, USB plug and play, so you don't have to go through a bunch of installations, no downloads, anything like that. You pop that thing in, put that thing in driving or pit mode. You can get all your race control and admin needs out of the way. And Mike and Kynan, I see it throughout these leagues that I call. You always have one guy sitting down pit road that never races in these races. And with an admin box, you can race. You put that thing to the side right by your wheel. You can race along and still get your race control and admin needs out of the way.
Very nice when, especially for new leagues, you're still in Genesee getting a little bit wide, but when you're a new league, it just means that even when you have a smaller participation than potentially you'll have in the future, you can just be out there having fun yourself, and sometimes you just want to find a new source of fun, and Admin Box just allows you to help manage your league whilst also being able to enjoy it just as much as, say, if you're racing it. So, very nice little product to have.
Yeah, we invite you to go check them out at Admin Box. That's 2 X's at the end.com. Again, that's Admin Box with 2 X's.com, and go check them out. I checked them out. I'm not race controller admin in any of these leagues, but it's very cool to go check out those devices, see how they're made, all the details that go into it. So we invite you to go check them out. They've been a wonderful sponsor here in the High Octane Sim Series. But right now, it is still the 6 show. Brandon 6, that is the winner here. Not the winner just yet, folks, but with a 15-second lead with about 17 laps to go here. He's got his headphones in. He's got his favorite songs playing. He's got his Spotify Discover Weekly playlist going on and his helmet right now, because he has no worries in the world listening to a little Bob Marley. Don't worry, be happy, because he's going to be extremely happy with the win here tonight. The 15-second lead, he could basically run that car down to the concession stands, get him a snack, a hot dog, and a soda, come back onto the track, and still have some distance between him and second place, Conan.
Yeah, but what having that gap also allows is, when we eventually get down to green flag pit stops, is he's able to just take it easy entering the pit lane, because something we haven't really thought about is green flag pit stop. Just getting into pit lane and then not speeding. If you speed, then you have to serve a penalty. That's going to cost you a lot of time, and that's going to take you out of the contention to be able to win the race. So if he's just able to take it easy and not lose time from having to serve a penalty, it should be a fairly slam dunk victory here for Brendan 6 tonight, unless something else quite dramatic were to happen. But right now, I wouldn't be worried about that if I was Brendan 6.
Yeah, and speaking of slam dunk, we invite you to go check out the Mambacita Foundation that he represents there on that race card, the 66. If I am speaking of it correctly, that is Kobe Bryant's. It's his foundation. Unfortunately, Kobe Bryant passed away just a few years ago with his daughter Gigi, and that foundation is for his daughter and everything that they do there. So we invite you to go check out that wonderful foundation there. If I'm speaking of it correctly there, I'm not exactly sure if that's the same foundation I'm thinking of, but I believe it is. That was formed in his daughter's memory after that passing there. I have to go double check that. It looks like all the same logos and everything. Actually, I think I'm going to take a chance to go look that up here, and I'll be right back here on the broadcast.
Alrighty. Else will goes and does that. We'll keep watching on board with the 66. You can see how steady he's able to keep the car, getting a little bit loose entering the fast right-hander there, but just able to keep it all nice and under control, getting it slowed down for the hairpin before starting to just get ready to do it all over again. It's not an easy lap to do around here, so whilst we're on board with Brendan 6, I'm going to shush up as well as we just have a little listen along and just see what he does differently. So coming back in, you can see just from how that lap has been fairly stable, nothing really going too badly, not any lockups, and the car's just been nice and planted, and it's just allowed Brendan 6 to keep a nice steady lead, pulled it out to a nearly 21 second to Brendan Fetter place. But Will is back and give us the news. Was that the right foundation you're thinking of?
Yeah, Brandon Six is representing a fantastic foundation here tonight, the Mambacita Sports Foundation. The Mamba and Mambacita Sports Foundation is a non-profit organization dedicated to creating positive impact for undeserved athletes and boys and girls in sports. This was founded through the vision and loving memory of Kobe and Gigi Bryant there, who unfortunately lives were ended too soon there. But it provides funding and sports programming for undeserved athletes to enable participation in school and or league sports that enrich social, emotional, and physical development. Kobe and Gigi's vision was created to a world where young boys and girls had equal opportunity to pursue their dreams through sports and life. Foundation honors their legacy by funding programs that support their vision. So we want you to go check out the Mambacita Sports Foundation, an organization that Brandon Six represents. They're on that 66 machine. He's doing so in style here tonight with a 22-second lead.
Like there may be a bit of a battle.
You have a crash on the track here. It looks like it was an entanglement between Julio Villalobos and Brendan Fetter Place. Two guys that have been running on the podium throughout tonight's race get tangled up there on that corner. And that's going to make for a steamy pit road tonight.
I was just watching the relative and I just see the gap starting to close, and I was about to say, looks like we may be having a battle between Julio and Brendan, but looks like there may be a bit of a battle even after the race will be over.
Yeah, they're not going to be too happy with that. They're going to have to really work their way back up the grid to try to get those podium finishes that they've been racing in here tonight. Right now, they are still 2-3 on the track, so even with that entanglement, they're able to hold on to their positions. But on your screen, if you're watching along with us here on 10-4 Broadcasting, either on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, we have that Mambacita.org link right there under Brandon Six's name. We invite you to go check out that foundation. I know growing up, it was difficult for me playing sports. It's always a big thing, you know, trying to find the funding. You always ask your mom and dad to pay for the sign-up fees or things like that. So what an organization it is to give kids that opportunity to play sports, the kids that are out there that can't do it or don't have the funds to do it. But we invite you to go check them out at the Mambacita Sports Foundation. .org if you want more information about that. We'll speak with Brandon Six about it here. He comes home with the race victory at the end of this race. And again, that's the Mambacita Foundation and that wonderful paint scheme that he's been representing all season long here tonight. Again, doing it in style with about a 25-second lead with 13 laps to go here. And kind of, I'll ask this question. It seems a little bit repetitive, but if you're the guys behind Brandon right now and you see on the grid or see your intervals, a 25-second lead, you know you're not going to be the race winner. What's your mindset here with 12 laps to go?
Right now, you should just be worrying about yourself. Fetter Place, whilst all that was going on, seems to have had an issue that haven't been able to pick up on. I noticed it fairly quickly, but it's meant that he's now lost 5 seconds. It was 6 seconds to Julio, so maybe coming together, but there was about a 0.3 second gap when he had given away, so maybe just locked the brake and went off track. It's about the interval that would have created, so maybe hopefully we can potentially get a little replay up on what has happened there. But Fetter Place still in the third position, Jerry followed by Jerry. I'm so sorry, it's been quite a long night for me, but Jeremy Richmond in the fourth position, Nick Alford in fifth, Ian Janicek, who's our first lap car down and finally got a replay up, just carries too much speed and then went off track and just tried to put the throttle down and it's just rotated.
And I say with that mistake from Brandon Fetter Place there, once we get those intervals back up onto the screen and I'm able to see that gap, you know, Jeremy Richmond can climb up there with 12 laps to go and catch Brendan Federer Place. I come home with a podium finish here tonight. Doesn't look like it's going to happen there, as there's about a 20-second gap between him and Jeremy, so it's going to take a little bit to be able to get that podium foot. But what an impressive performance it has been for Jeremy here tonight. I know we really haven't called out his name here tonight, but really no mistakes out of that car here tonight. One last week, but we're taking a look here at Julio Villalobos there, also off the track there. A little off-road racing we're seeing at the end of this here, Kynan.
It just seems like maybe they're having a lot of tire grip right now. You run off track once, lose that extra clean tire tread, and then you gotta then have to worry about your tire temperatures, and then you lock up, and then you're suddenly building the tire temperatures, then you've got to arrest some of that temperature, so maybe we might be seeing some green flag pit stops coming up, or potentially we might not even need to see pit stops depending on what the fuel load's like. But 11 to go, and so far no drivers have really looked at making a green flag pit stop.
No driver indeed has wanted to head down pit road here. As you see, Brandon Six hits those rumble strips just a little bit there. What an impressive performance it has been for him here tonight. We've seen battles though, folks. It hasn't just been the Brendan Six show up there in that 66 machine. We've seen battles between Julio Villalobos. Brendan Federer Place has battled it out as well. We've seen a little bit of a struggle out of EJ Marshall there. He's going to finish in the 8th position down there. Jeremy Richmond, last week's winner, looks like he's going to lock in a top 5 here tonight. Nick Alford, who had some trouble in the beginning stages of tonight's race, we saw him get sideways a couple times, has climbed up into 4th. So good on Nick Alford, our current points leader here in the playoffs. Is going to come home with a top 5 here tonight, even though he's had some issues here at the road course. But tonight, again, folks, it's been Brandon Six, our regular season champion here at Kynan. And, you know, you've been here for the duration of this season. Taking a look back at this season here, you know, I want to look back to that Charlotte Roval race, if you remember correctly. Did Brandon have the amount of speed there as he has here tonight at Sonoma?
They made a schedule change, so it was end up becoming Watkins Glen, but Brendan Six at the time wasn't racing in high octane. His first race, if I remember, was Homestead, so it's only really came in and then come in and won his first race at Richmond and then won at Kansas, as we saw what looked like Jeremy Richmond going way off track.
Yeah, so this is the first time that the viewers here at the High Octane Sim Series are getting a chance to peek at the driving skill of Brendan Six here at these road courses. And folks, with 10 laps to go, this is all but a victory lap for the 66. Foregoing any kind of major mistake here on the track, and even so, you still have those fast repairs in the back pockets. And Jeremy Richmond, I'm getting word, has had a mistake on the track, his first mistake of the night in that 98. You see him right here hitting a tough corner, has to really dig down, never really turn that thing there. Kind of must have hit some black ice here in California.
No, I had seen earlier on his front wheel was basically hanging off the car, so a lot of steering damage, but seems like something's maybe going on my end, so I might need to do a computer restart.
And we take a look there. That's Jeremy Richmond, last week's winner. And with that win, you know, Jeremy's right now in the 2nd position in the point standings in a deadlock tie with Nick Alford in that 95. With 2 wins on the season, Jeremy won the first race of the playoffs. Brandon Six, as we mentioned, is down into 4th coming into tonight. That's going to change, obviously, here at the end of this. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of points here tonight. He's going to get a bunch of bonus points for winning both stages, also probably leading the most laps and the race victory. So really racking them up here tonight here at Sonoma. So we'll probably see Brandon up within maybe the 2nd spot in the points, or maybe even overtaking the 95 of Nick Alford, as right now there was only about looking at 9 points separating Nick and Brandon down there in the 4th spot. So we'll see how all this shakes out here at the end of this as we head to Kentucky next week. And I'm sure, Mike, as we have you up in the booth here, I kind of had to step away for just a moment. Going into Kentucky next week, obviously we're not going to see the type of domination we've seen here tonight. The leader, Brandon Six, is down in the pits, but with a 27-second lead, he could probably hop out of that race car, grab him a Gatorade and a snack, and race out the next 9 laps and still have a bit of a cushion. But Mike, I wanted to ask you, as we look forward to next week here at the High Octane Sim Series, we head to Kentucky. We're not going to see the sort of domination as we've seen Brandon Six here tonight. Like we saw in the first race of these playoffs, Jeremy Richmond, a surprise winner, winning the first round here. What are you looking forward to the most at Kentucky next week?
One thing, definitely have a bigger field. I think what happened, from what I'm gathering from the chat on Discord, is that the reason why a lot of drivers were not here. iRacing had an update this morning, and I believe a lot of drivers were unable to get updated in time to make the race. So I believe that was one of the differences as far as the field being so small. Other people, I think one said that he was racing a real race car, which, you kind of make money. You kind of have fun in a real race car than driving in a sim. I would definitely love to do that myself, but, lo and behold, I think next week is going to be different. We're going to have definitely a better turnout. We'll go back to oval racing. My experience at Kentucky, I have not driven it in this next-gen cars, but we will have a onboard lap for next week as well, ready for you guys. Hopefully, I think will be doing play-by-play for that. But these cars at Kentucky, it's going to be more of a middle to high type track. We heard, NASCAR talking about California being repurposed, so to say, rebuilt, rebanked into almost like a short track. I believe we're going to have it like a Kentucky's going to drive exactly like what California is right now.
Yeah, the blue blood state of Kentucky. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
The one thing I just want to say is I do apologize for those that are watching the stream. We are working on the bot situation. Our bot police is on the case.
Yeah, those bots love the racing here at the High Octane Sim Series just as much as we do up here in the booth here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We love bringing you this live action week in and week out of this series. This is our second series with this organization, and Mike, throughout the races we've seen so far, it's highly competitive. But if you are interested in joining up here in the High Octane Sim Series for Season 4, you can find more information on Facebook at the High Octane Sim Series on there. Nick Alfred is the guy you want to speak to get signed up. If you want to find him on Facebook, or head on over to Discord. If you're familiar with Discord, check them out at High Octane Sim Series. Look for Nick Alfred. He is the boss here. He is the man that makes all this action happen in this wonderful series. They run next gens in this series. And Mike, it's been a competitive season here in season number 3. And they like to say that home cooking in your own series exists, but Nick actually picked up his first win in 3 seasons. As you see, he's going to go for a little off-road racing there. Hard impact there in those safety tires.
Yes, and I believe he is stuck.
Looks like that 95 is about had enough here tonight. Yeah, a little frustrated there in that race car. Take that tow to pit road, and coming in as our points leader, Mike. I'm not sure if he's going to hold that points lead at the end of this race, or if we might have a tie at the top of the grid.
Looks like he overdrove it going in the carousel here, and boom.
That's a hard impact there for that 95 with 6 laps to go here. We're counting it down here, folks. I know we've kept an eye on Brandon Six, our leader. We've had some battles on the track as well. It hasn't just been the Brandon Six show up there. It has been some battles for the podium finish. We've spoken about as well as a small field that has been here tonight. It's still important to get those podium finish points, if you will. Not going to really receive any bonus points here tonight, but you can still get that podium finish to carry you on through to Kentucky next week. And we're joined back now with Kynan Jones. And Kynan, counting it down here, man. If you want to break down to the viewers what we've seen so far here tonight, I know Brandon 6 has dominated, but we've seen some battles, although here tonight we thought it was going to be, just to be honest with the viewers, a little bit of a slow race, to use a lack of a better term, but it has been exciting in spots.
Yeah, it's been interesting, especially for that final position on the podium. We're seeing Julio and Better Place getting into it. We unfortunately weren't able to see the battle between Richmond and Alfred before Alfred had his little error earlier on, and also Richmond had a bit of an issue, but we've also seen the race filled with little mistakes, either people just running wide, getting on the gas a bit too soon, or just pinching the brake, and then that's meant that they've just slid off the track. So really the only driver tonight who hasn't had any issues is Brendan 6, and I haven't seen any issues from the 8 of Bajanic, so really those are the two drivers that I haven't seen have some form of issue.
Yeah, Bajanic. Really looking forward to next week here in the High Octane Sim Series. As you know, you're inside of that race car, you see the lead that the 66 has. You're just racing it out here tonight as we're taking a look here once again at Nick Alfred in that 95. No, this is Jeremy Richmond in that 98, excuse me, has now raced up into the 4th spot, but unfortunately is a lap down right now on the grid. We're going to finish, it looks like, with about 3 cars left on the lead lap, as now Brandon 6 has about, if I'm seeing that number correctly on the grid, it's about 40-second lead there, if I'm correct. 47-second lead there, going for a new record here at 10-4 Broadcasting. And that would be a record here at 10-4 Broadcasting if he holds on to this lead here. I believe the last record we had here, Mike, if you can look back, it may have been a distance of 29 seconds. Looks like Brandon's going to double that here tonight if he maintains this speed, maintains these clean lines throughout. And Mike, as we're taking a look at Brandon 6 here, you spoke about his experience, you spoke about his driving skill, but it was interesting to speak with him at the end of stage 1 when he picked up that stage victory. He spoke about how road courses aren't really his thing, but the way he's racing here tonight, it might just be at the end of the night.
Absolutely. I mean, he made it, he said he's not a fan of road courses. But one thing that I just took away from, what he said is that he runs a GT racing. And he gets used, and, we talk about how the next gens almost have something like what GT racing has. They don't have steering locks, they have the pinions. Of course, in the back end of the car, they have that bottom diffuser, and that's something that I'm gonna have to start doing myself personally, just to understand these type of cars at road courses. Yes, we only see it before, back in the day, it was only twice a year. Now we see it 5-6 times a season as we have problems for Brandon 6. But that 20-second, 43-second lead, he has time to do a little burnout for the fans in the stands, and still has the lead.
Yeah, he can go sideways and go a little off-road racing, get those tires dirty, do a little Forza Horizon there for the folks in the chat that are familiar with that game. A little off-road, come back onto the track and still be okay, as he's just showing off for the fans now, going sideways there, as Mike mentioned. But, he's getting that victory burnout out of the way early here tonight. As we're taking a look there again at Brandon 6, foregoing a major incident on the track. It's going to be our race winner here with 3 laps to go. Has about almost a minute lead. Folks, again, that's a minute lead on second place. A full 1 minute on the race course here. Yeah, right now with 3 laps to go, he could eclipse a minute lead there, Mike, if he maintains the speed. You see Julio Villalobos there goes off track. Tries to take a little detour here at Sonoma. as he's going to lose a position on the track. And it's interesting to see, Mike, throughout the end stages of this race, it seems as though the guys that we thought were going to finish on the podium have struggled a little bit here to close things out.
You know, Brandon, I think, you know, he said it exactly what happened. You know, what might happen. It's road course racing. A lot of people do not like it. EJ Marshall has even said it himself. You know, he loves this track, but just the car and the track combination doesn't add up for a lot of people.
No, and you see it in the Cup Series as well, as we're going to count down the laps here. We got about just a couple laps to go here, folks. Again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in here. We're looking at the YouTube channel. We have about 11 viewers right now, Mike, even though Brandon 6 has about a minute lead. But Mike, we see it in the Cup Series as well. That's why you sometimes see an influx of road course drivers that hop into cars, whether it's in the Xfinity Series, the Cup Series. Those drivers really, you know, wait for these races. One driver in particular that I've seen really excel at road courses throughout his career is AJ Allmendinger. It doesn't matter which road course you hit, he's good on speedways and on road courses. So a driver that has mastered that skill, but it's always interesting to see. I know this past year we had an F1 driver race a road course there, was doing well until an unfortunate incident took him out in that race. But again, folks, tonight has been Brandon 6, the guy that has mastered the left turns and the right turns here tonight, as well as the braking and gear shifting. We probably won't see any of that next week at Kentucky, but tonight we get a showcase and a master class in road course racing.
And actually, I want to correct you, as we see, getting reports of the 78 off track again. I'm going to bring it up for you. But to get your correction, is we actually have had two F1 drivers. Not only did Kimi Räikkönen make a start, but I believe a driver that raced for the Red Bull Formula 1 was also in the field. I had to get
This is true.
Get his name. It's on tip of my tongue. But we are in the final lap as Brandon 6 coming around the carousel.
And this is basically Brandon 6's showcase lap, his victory lap, if you will. It's your last chance to get those pictures. It's your last chance to wave at Brandon as he goes by the grandstands here at Sonoma. The way he's won this race here tonight, I'm sure you can get a nice crispy picture of that 66 as he goes by you with no other cars around him. It has been, if you're a fan of Brandon 6, it has been your favorite night here tonight. No competition really at all throughout tonight's race. Had the fastest time in practice, fastest time in the Q session as well. That's a qualifying session. We're on a road course. I'll use a little bit of a road course term there. But it's been the Brandon 6 show here throughout. No battles at all. We saw him spin the tires there to start the race. Other than that, has been clean throughout. So fresh and so clean. Shout out to Outcast. But it is time to celebrate there in the 66 camp as Brandon 6 is going to be our race winner here at Sonoma.
And I want to correct myself. It's actually Danny Kvyat, former Red Bull driver development, as well as Kimi Räikkönen. That's made NASCAR starts.
I think it's about time to throw Brandon in an Indy car or Formula One car the way he has won here at this road course. I have to speak to him about racing in the International League that I call on Monday nights, because if he can maintain this road course ability, he might give some of those international drivers a run for their money. But tonight, folks, it is Brandon 6 that wins the race here at Sonoma. He's going to take a little bit of time here to go around the track, as I believe Mike, he may have finished with about a 40-second lead there, right? Still a 40-second lead as Brandon's starting to slow down around the track. We'll have to get back and see what that exact finish was there. He'll have that record by far here at 10-4 Broadcasting. I'm sorry, Mike?
That record is 38.01, and that is a new record for 10-4 Broadcasting.
That was a huge record there, winning the race by about 38 seconds, Mike.
Yes, sir, and I believe one of his teammates is in chat and saying domination. Exactly right. 100%
that was-
domination.
That was just by the definition of the word throughout. We saw Brendan Fetterplace try to get up there, Julio Villalobos tried to get up there, but nobody could really even just get a hand on Brendan throughout tonight's race. Couldn't even nudge that back fender, couldn't even get him loose if they wanted to. As Brendan 6 is going to pull that 66 down the front stretch here and burn it down in style, just like he's won this race in style here tonight at Sonoma.
I just think if we were having to spend real money each week on new cars that we have to keep paying for to rebuild, that's a brand new car that just needs to be cleaned off and ready for next week.
Yeah, you throw that thing in the trailer, you wipe it down, maybe with some new finish and new polish, and you throw if there's a new wrap for next week. But I love how Brendan 6 represents that Mamacita foundation there, so no new wrap needed. You just wipe that thing down, as Mike said, throw it in the trailer, and you're good to go for next week. And I'm sure looking at Kentucky next week, we'll speak with Brendan with just a second. I'm sure that 66 is going to be just as fast there at Kentucky. I believe, Mike, as Brandon is still burning it down here on 10-4 broadcasting. I mean, there's not much to say here tonight, Mike. As I said, there was a few battles for position on the track behind Brandon. But what can you say about the way that he was just able to tame this track here tonight?
Wow. To be honest, I don't even know what to say. I race with him Monday nights, and I can't keep up with him.
Yeah, and what a treat it is to have Brandon 6 in this league with us. As mentioned, he was the regular season champion coming into these high octane sim series playoffs. Was in the 4th position in the table when this race started here tonight. I'm sure that's going to change after tonight's proceedings, but I believe our 3rd place finisher of the night, we'll run through those official results here in just a moment, just to see where your favorite driver finished here on the grid. But it looks like we have Brandon Fetterplace going to finish up there in the top 3. And Mike, I'll have you run through those official results for the folks at home.
Brandon 6 is your race winner for Keeping It Real Esports. Very familiar with that team. Brandon Fetterplace sitting at P2. Julio, I can't pronounce the last name, so I apologize if I butcher your last name. I think Villapala, I believe that is.
Villalobos?
That's in the 78. Followed by Jeremy Richmond, the 98 for JKR Motorsports. Rounding out your top 5 is Paul Bojanic in the 8. We ended up finishing 3 laps down. 4th place is Ian Jesnek. And at number 25, you ended up finishing 4 laps down. Your series admin, Nick Offord, and as well as your all-star winner, ended up finishing 6 laps down. That's for My Sim Racing, I believe. EJ Marshall, we talked to him earlier, for TG George Esports. 34 laps down. He ended up calling in the night early on in the 16 and race control. Not on the scoring pylon tonight.
Yeah, Mike, and I believe you're catching up with our 2nd place finisher, and that's Brendan Fetterplace there. As mentioned, he gave a little bit of fits for our leader, but not much, as you can see, with a 38-second win, but I believe you're catching up with him on the radio.
Brandon Fetterplace, this is Mike in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
I sure do. What's going on?
All right, 2nd place. I see you had late in the run, you had a little contact with the 78. I just want to see, is that race over, or are we going to expect things more to come next week?
We're all just trying really hard. And Julio, he's never really done me wrong in the past, so I chalk that as a racing incident, and we'll move forward.
You see your teammate Brandon Six dominated this race. What could have you done to possibly get the lead from him?
Him blow a motor or a tire. I mean, I'm really happy that our team, we finished 1-2. That guy, 60, he's so fast, and every week, I'm just trying to understand and learn the things that he knows. And I mean, the guy's ridiculous, as you can see.
Oh, definitely. I race with him Monday nights, and he beats me every week. But yeah, he's a hard driver. He's very competitive. What did you think that you can learn just from this race in general, especially with the next gen cars? I know we talked to Brandon Six just after his first stage win, and he said that he runs a lot of GT races, and he uses that as a difference as far as learning how to drive these cars on the road courses.
Yeah, definitely. His experience far outweighs mine. I mean, I've only been in this service for maybe 6 or 7 months, and he's been racing for years. So, I just need to understand, how he gets through corners. He's very smooth, with his braking, the throttle, the steering, everything. I mean, it's crazy. I guess it just takes years and experience to get to that level.
No, Brandon, I was going to ask you a question that I've been asking our co-host throughout tonight's race here on 10-4 Broadcasting. You spoke about your teammate Brandon Six there winning by about 38 seconds. What's the mindset like throughout a race when you know that the leader has such a gap on you guys there in second and third, or the rest of the field just in general? What's the mindset there throughout tonight's race, and how are you able to keep composure?
Well, for me, I mean, him being a teammate, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But the whole time, all I'm thinking is, don't mess up. You have a good thing going. You're in second. You're on the podium. It's a good points day. So really, I'm just telling myself to, stay in the running, stay smooth, don't wreck, and talk to him during race, and just kind of keep it on the track.
Yeah, Brandon, well, we appreciate you taking the time with us here tonight. You're going to finish second right behind your teammate. Not exactly right behind, but podium finish nonetheless, Brandon. And we'll look forward to Kentucky next week. How are you feeling about that track, and how are you feeling the rest of the way here in the High Octane Sim Series?
Well, Kentucky's going to be a tricky one for me, as in real life, I'm getting ready to have knee surgery on the morning of that race. So me being here is a big question mark. But on a brighter note, I think, I feel really good about Kentucky. It's actually a home track of mine. It's literally 45 to an hour from my house. So I've been there, and I love racing there. So I'm hoping these next couple of tracks are good to me.
Yes, sir. Well, it was good for you here tonight. Gonna come home second, and with that podium finish, we love to give you drivers the opportunity to shout out anybody you had watching here tonight, any sponsors that made your race possible, and where people can find you on social media.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank, obviously the viewers, my friends and family for watching the broadcast. Watching my stream on Twitch at Mr. Exiled XIV 14. I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a broadcast. You guys put on a great broadcast. Obviously the team for showing up. Six dude is an amazing driver, and hey, we showed up 1-2.
Yes, sir. Well, Brandon, we appreciate you taking the time with us here tonight. To come home second here tonight, this is Brendan Federer, our second place finisher. And Brandon, we appreciate you taking the time with us here tonight. We look forward to seeing what that number 20 machine has in store for the viewers at Kentucky next week, man. Go celebrate with your teammate just a bit. We're going to get him on the radio here after he broke the record here at 10-4 Broadcasting for for the biggest winning margin in a race. But Brandon, congrats on your second place finisher, man. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Good luck with the surgery.
Yes, sir. It was great talking to you. Oh, thank you.
All right, and that was Brendan Fetterplace, our second place finisher. But Mike, I believe our third place finisher has now caught up with you on pit road. Take it away, Mike.
Julio, this is Mike in the broadcast booth. You got a copy? Julio, this is Mike in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Can you hear me? Hear you?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So, looks like you had a little incident with the 20, a little midway through the race. Is that, can we consider that finished going into next week, or do you think that's going to continue going forward?
I think it's finished. Maybe we are just looking for points. We are looking to get a chance to get in the battle of the championship. Last week we don't have a good race. We lost a lot of points. We didn't finish even the stage one. This week we recover a lot of points. And I think the main goal is to go to the last race and try to win the championship.
What did you take as far as this race in general? We know Brandon Six basically dominated the whole race. Led the race by 38.1 seconds at the end. Did you think you had anything for Brandon?
No, we don't have the speed to beat Brandon. He was really fast. He was really constant. I don't know what we can do to get into Brandon. We had a lot of mistakes at the end. We have a problem with the audio device. We get disconnected of the audio and we can hear anything.
What is one thing that you'll take away from this race going into the next race, which is Kentucky?
Kentucky is a good track. I prefer ovals in this type of cars. But we just going for points. We go for the win. We go for stage points. We don't care about other racers now.
Any sponsors you want to give a shout out to? You got P3 here tonight.
Yeah, to Broken Axle, Security Speed, Capsule of the Time, to Max Graphics, to my brother that was here with me tonight.
Alrighty, Julio. So we appreciate you taking the time with us here tonight. Gonna come home third, so you're gonna get that podium finish, Julio. Can't wait to see what you have in store for that 78 next week at Kentucky. Congratulations on that podium finish here tonight. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see you next week here on 10-4 Broadcasting.
Thank you. See you next week.
Yes, sir. That was Julio Villalobos there in that 78 machine. Him and Brendan Fetterplace really battled it out there for that podium finish. But without further ado, it is time to speak with our new record holder here at 10-4 Broadcasting. Shatters the record for the largest margin of victory here by about 20 seconds. Brandon Six, the driver of the 66. We spoke to you there at the end of stage number 1. You essentially cruise to the race victory here, winning by about 38 seconds. Take us through your race here tonight and how you're able to just pace yourself around Sonoma.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of do what I always do, trying to be consistent in these cars. These cars are quite the handful, especially when you come to road courses. Unfortunately, that's why most people tend not to like them, but I find it enjoyable. It's trying to wheel a big, heavy, like 3,500 pound car around a road course is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, very intriguing. What was intriguing to me at most, I think we saw maybe your first mistake or your only mistake there. About 3 laps to go, you decided to get a little jump start on the burnouts there on the front stretch. Um, uh, how are you? How are you able to hold such what's the word I'm looking for? Attention and composure throughout tonight's race, knowing as the laps ticked down, your lead was just getting bigger and bigger throughout.
Yeah, I mean, there for a while, I was just running more consistent laps, more and less, and then I decided to actually for the last 5 laps, I started to rip it and see what I could really do. And I was starting to really get in the rhythm of it, and the rear tire started to get a little hot on me. And with the gearing I was using out of that last corner, which is first gear, it spun them a lot harder than I was used to. So it caught me off guard, and I couldn't get it straightened out. So I did a little 360 there off 11. So yeah, I did a little premature burnout, but I was able to keep trucking, and like I said, still was able to find the limits of the car and around this track. I still didn't hit what I really wanted to, but it was fun nonetheless.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that you wanted more out of that race car here tonight as you won the race by about 38 seconds. But Brandon, looking past your dominant victory here tonight, we look forward to Kentucky next week in the third round of the playoffs. How do you feel about Kentucky, and do you think you can win the race? And looking at the point series coming into tonight, you were down in the 4th position on that table. I believe after tonight's finish, you should probably be tied with the points lead, as you only had about 11 points between you and the leader. How are you feeling about next week?
Yeah, next week should be pretty good. I actually just ran a race there last night at Kentucky, and did pretty well. The set's pretty tight, so it's going to be about tire management next week and who can keep the tire on it.
There we go. And Brandon, in your dominant fashion, they're running around the track. We did have the opportunity to check on the Mamacita Foundation. If you want to take the folks at home, why that foundation means so much to you and why you represent that foundation week in and week out.
Yeah, actually, both me and another teammate, Brandon Bowie, we both run the same paint scheme. We've been running it mostly to help support the boys and girls with the sports. They help kids that maybe don't have the funding or whatever to do sports that they love to do, and that foundation allows them to do it. So if you could, go give them a look up and try and support them.
There we go, Brandon. Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you here tonight. You're going to win the race by about 38 seconds. Speaking with Brandon Six, our race number 2 winner here in the High Octane Sim Series playoffs. And Brandon, with that victory, I'm sure you know the drill here at 10-4 Broadcasting, as you picked up about 3 or 4 victories throughout the season during the regular season. We'd love to give you drivers the opportunity to shout out anybody that you had watching here tonight, any sponsors that made this race possible for you, and where people can find you on social media.
Yep, as always. Of course, we just talked about Mamacita Foundation as one primary. Keeping It Real, which is the main team. A lot of those guys, we put in a lot of hard work, especially with this next-gen car. We're trying to expand out into other series, and especially the roadside, so you should probably see a lot more of our teammates around. And then, of course, you guys for putting on this broadcast.
Awesome, Brandon. Well, a huge congratulations from us here at 10-4 Broadcasting again, now holding the race victory record, winning by 38 seconds here tonight, Brandon. But the folks at home cannot wait to see what you have in store for the folks at Kentucky next week in that 66 machine. See if you can continue that dominance like you had here tonight. But Brandon, we appreciate you taking the time with us here. Go celebrate with your teammate of Brendan Fetter Place there, and have a great rest of your week, great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week here on 10-4 Broadcasting.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
And that was Brandon Six, our race winner there. Mike wins the race by 38 seconds. Not much to say about his race here tonight, other than that about 3 laps to go, he had that little small mistake. He talked about it there, got the wheels locked up, just did a premature burnout there on the front stretch. But any final thoughts on tonight's race there, Mike?
I think before we came on the air, we were talking about how this might be, a boring but dreadful race, so to say. But to be honest with you, was I bored? Absolutely not. I think there was a lot more action than we actually expected. Yeah, we had Brand 6 dominate, but we never expected anything else outside of it. And we've seen a lot of action, not for just second place, but we've seen action all over the track. Yeah, but we had a small field, but small field or big field, doesn't really matter. You're still going to have actions anywhere on the racetrack.
Yes, sir, indeed. And action we did have, as just Mike just mentioned, Brandon 6, we saw this sort of coming through the Q session, through practice as well, of what was going to occur here once the green flag dropped. But there were battles on the track. We saw Nick Alfred up there battling for position, as well as Brendan Fetterplace, Julio Villalobos as well, battling it out here tonight in the High Octane Sim Series. But without further ado, it is time to wrap it up here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We do want to give a special shout out to those sponsors that make things possible here tonight. Admin Box is one in particular. W Energy Drink there. I think we forgot about them throughout the broadcast. I think we need some W Energy to keep us going here. Brendan 6, I think, had a lot the way he raced here tonight. I want you to go check them out at W Energy. I believe we have a coupon code for you folks at home as well. W Energy is providing a energy alternative for all those people at home, as well as Captain Jack's Smokehouse located in Fernanda Beach, Florida. We forgot to show that wonderful plate of food up there. It could have been an enjoyable snack for these people watching the race here tonight. But also Admin Box as well. We invite you to go check them out. We spoke about them throughout the broadcast. We ran that beautiful commercial. Go use code HOSSBOX for $24 off your order. And if you want that energy alternative there of W Energy, we also have a coupon code for you as well. Use code HOSS for 10% off your entire order. Once again, we want to thank those wonderful sponsors for making all the action possible here in the High Octane Sim Series. We want to thank High Octane Sim Series for bringing us on, giving us the opportunity to bring you folks this live action here, the next gen race cars. But for all of us here at 10-4 Broadcasting, myself, William Tiller, Mike Maddox behind the decks, and Kynan Jones, my wonderful co-host on this call here tonight. It is Brandon 6 who takes home the victory here tonight at Sonoma. We'll be live once again here in the High Octane Sim Series next Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But once again, it's Brandon 6 who takes home the victory here tonight. We want to thank everybody for watching. We wish everybody a great weekend, and we'll see you